How you doing, Scott?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
We're doing great. How about you, Donovan? Excited to be
I'm
here?
doing well. I'm excited. I mean, this is I feel like going to be a great conversation because terror in particular meant it was a big part of my musical experience as a kid. So I'm really interested to talk to you and hear about what it is that you've got going on in your life now.
Okay.
Yeah. And especially growing up in Buffalo, Terror, Slugfest, Buried Alive, all these bands were huge to us. They made a major impact on us growing up.
And you both live in LA now?
He lives up in, you want to tell him?
I live in the Bay.
He lives in the Bay.
Yeah.
I'm in Burbank in like LA.
Oh, that's where I just moved from.
Yeah, we met a few times in the past year. I bought like a thing off of you, like a vinyl shelf.
Oh, yeah. You just came back from the airport.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was coming from Buffalo.
Cool.
Did you pick up any new hobbies you learned during quarantine?
I would grab it, but I have stuff on top of it. I've been trying to read more. I'm definitely not a reader.
Yeah.
But I've been forcing myself to like turn the TV off and try to read. I probably last about a half hour a day.
I'm the same.
I'm not going to say anything brand new, but with touring as much as that we did in the past, it would be very hard to get into a routine where I have some like neck and back issues. Mm-hmm. So not traveling and having more time every day, these are things I should do every day. Mm-hmm. Maybe now I'm doing them 5 times a week, where before I'd be doing them like 2 times a week. Mm-hmm. I should probably be doing 5's good. Maybe 7 would be great. Reading a little bit more, trying to meditate. That's something that I picked up.
Oh, wow.
I want to say maybe 15 years ago, but these are all things that I want to do for myself. Mm-hmm. But with my schedule of touring so much, it's easy to let them fall to the wayside. Mm-hmm. So just kind of mastering the things that I've always wanted to. Brand new things. No.
Just old habits.
And I've really perfected watching TV.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think as we all have.
Because all these things that I just talked about, all these good things, and, I definitely have to ride my bike or take a long walk, usually with a podcast every day. That's like has to happen. Mm-hmm. That happens 6.5 days out of 7 in a week. Nice. Excuse me, but yeah, like totally brand new things like sewing or cooking new things, and that hasn't happened.
Has your back gotten better over time? I know you had like some extensive surgery on it.
It's really hard to say because even when I did the surgeries, or I've done like crazy things like gone to Mexico and got like injections and things like stem cell injections and ozone injection, things that the FDA or whoever, it hasn't been approved in the US, but I'm like, fuck it, I don't care. Let's go crazy. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, I do these things, surgery. I had a surgery and it would take a lot for me to get the surgery. I don't think that was such a great move. Mm-hmm. These things I do, but then I go right back out and tour for months and months and months at a time and sleep in fucked up places and go off on stage. So it's hard to gauge, like, it's not like the normal thing where a person has surgery and then does like physical therapy and rests. I'm like, let's do the surgery and get back on the road. But it's definitely kept me back on the road and able to do my thing. So it's hard to gauge for the way I heal or whatever.
Were there any good albums that came out in 2020 that you've been listening to?
Sadly, with the infiltration of podcasts, I don't find myself listening to too much music.
Oh, wow.
some of the stuff I do, a lot of the stuff I've been listening to is older, like post-hardcore stuff, like Sunny Day Real Estate and Quicksand and Texas The Reason, stuff like that. Newer stuff, I've like really mostly hip hop. Like there's the whole, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the Griselda, West Side Gun,
Benny the
like
Butcher.
All that stuff was, you know, just being from Buffalo, I kind of got put onto that early. And now there's like gone to like some stuff in Rochester, the Cloth, like the singer of Mind Force put me onto some stuff in Rochester and Toronto. So this whole area, I moved back to Buffalo recently. So this whole area, Rochester, Toronto, Buffalo, has like so much cool stuff going on. Trying to think, like newer. I love Dare, the band from Orange County, the straight edge band from.
They're sweet.
From there.
Yeah.
I really like them. There's a lot of cool hardcore stuff, but I'm thinking like albums.
Yeah.
Man, so much podcasts. I'm like the new Dare records coming out in Revelation. I'm really looking forward to that. There's a band from Long Island called Rule Them All that I really like. They're kind of like melodic hardcore.
The Code Orange is pretty good.
Yeah, they've definitely, like, I loved that band when they first started, when they were and they were never like traditional or normal, but they were more like normal, because my brain, you know, I'm into like Madball, Hatebreed, like more like straightforward, and now they're like, listen to them, to me sounds like a fucking video
like
game or some shit like that. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for their grind and stuff, and I definitely consider those guys friends, but guys and Reba. But yeah, I can't listen to it. It sounds like fucking insane to me.
So I mean, if we were to look back a little bit and maybe on your earlier career, what were some of the musical influences that you had when you were coming up in the scene? What were the guys that you were like, man, I want to be like that guy. I want to be like that band.
I would go with Freddie Madball and Freddie as a frontman. You know, there's a lot. Like early on, when I first got into hardcore in Buffalo, the biggest local band, or best in my opinion, was Zero Tolerance, and their singer is Mark Belanca, and that's the first person that I really like. When I'd go to a show, when he'd walk into a room, I'd be like starstruck, like, oh my God, he's the fucking coolest person in the world. Oh, he's the best front man. So that was like the Buffalo. And that's like one where I could see him and almost envision myself. I would say I could never be as good as him, but if he could do it, maybe I could do it too. And then there's a lot of them, but Freddie from Madball, like his stage presence, his, you know, he kind of has like a hip hop vibe to him, and just like Madball's whole thing, like, you know, depending on which day you catch me on, I could say Madball is my favorite hardcore band. A lot of times it's Warzone. There's a couple that could creep in there, but Freddie and Mark, and, you know, there's a lot. Roger from AF, and I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot of people that I look up to and kind of jock their style.
That's awesome.
So let's go through your history a little bit. I know in the early 90s, you played in the band Slugfest. Mid 90s was Despair. Late 90s was Buried Alive. And you didn't start Terror until 2002?
Correct. This is all correct. I think you got it all.
Oh, okay, perfect. And so let's go through that phone call you got. So you basically got a phone call, and you and your girlfriend moved from Chicago and Buffalo to move to California to start Terror, which wasn't even Terror yet until you got there. And you kind of formulated the whole thing.
You kind of biffed the story up. So I was moving out west to not do any bands. I was like,
oh, okay.
All my bands had broken up just kind of when we got a little momentum. Slugfest, the drummer quit to be in Snapcase. That ruins Slugfest. Despair, we put out a couple records, went to Europe twice, and just got asked by Victory Records, who was like the biggest label at the time, to do a 7-inch. So I was like super psyched, and then 2 members quit. So that was the end of that. And then Buried Alive started, and we started definitely the most of those 3 bands was the most, did the most, and I want to say the biggest. I don't think we were a big band, but the biggest out of those three. And right when we started getting momentum, this band I quit, but it was because I just felt like, you know, there was a time when I would say people in the band were changing too much, and I didn't think they cared about hardcore anymore. But I've since, you know, talked to them with clear, like 20 years later, recently, not recently, but semi-recently, with a, you know, open dialogue, and got their side of it. So I don't want to say that anymore, but at the time, that's the reason why I thought the band was changing too much. So I quit the band, and I was just like kind of in this mind state of like,
you're done.
Fuck every band I'm in, I put so much into, and it breaks up.
Yeah.
So I was moving out west to, like, you know, figure my life out. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I didn't want to do a band. And then I got this phone call. I had gotten a cassette, like a dub cassette from my friend Larry, who also is from Buffalo. He used to sing in a band called Envy.
Okay.
And he had moved out to the West Coast, and I had stayed at his house, kind of figuring out where in California I was going to live. And he gave me this tape, and one side was No Warning, which is a band from Toronto who coincidentally now Jordan, their guitarist at the time, is in Terror, but this was back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had known who they were. I had seen them play, and I had heard their demo, but this was their 7-inch, and it was really fucking good. But more to Terror starting on the other side was a band named Carry On from they're from like Ventura area. And they had a new record out called A Life Less Plagued, and I had never even heard the name Carry On before. And I heard this and my friend Larry was like, I think you're gonna really like this. And I listened to those two records all the time, and I was like, this was kind of in the era of, there was like American Nightmare, who was a pretty big band, and they were like close to traditional hardcore, but they were very artsy at the same time. But then there was the whole scene of like 18 Visions, Throwdown, Bleeding Through, Every Time I Die. Like there was this whole different kind of movement going on, which I don't want to shit on, but that wasn't like really my hardcore.
Yeah.
And when I heard these two bands, I got really psyched. And then I got a phone call, and it was like, do you want to be Carry On singer? They were a straight edge band. He sold out straight edge, so they kind of broke up abruptly. And the drummer and guitarist were starting a new band. They heard I was moving out west. They asked me to, you know, be in the band or try out or whatever. And I was like, fuck, I don't want to be in a band, but this record's so good. So yeah, we got together, and it's fucking
the rest is
5,000, 100 million shows later. Here we are.
Yeah.
So I think that actually raises a really good question, because I know you're talking about just how, and I hear it from other artists too, how volatile the music industry is, and how volatile forming a group is, because, you know, people who are members of a team that is a band, they have different aspirations. They want to do different things. Maybe they kind of fall out of line with each other. How did you find your through line as an artist? How did you know to keep, your ability as a singer intact through that time of having everybody else maybe, having their own opinion?
I think I kind of followed more of my heart and my crazy brain. It was never my vocals, because all I can really do is scream and jump around on stage like a stupid idiot. So to me, I've always led with what I perceive as my convictions, what's important to me. Luckily now I've been able to make a living off Terror and not work another job. But at that time there was money to pay like my little bit of rent and pay for my shitty little car at the time. But it was never really guided by that. It was all about what I thought was wrong and what's right.
Yeah.
And that ultimately, looking back on it, led to a lot of these people quitting the band, because I was very like, what I would call like a band Nazi, like my way or no way, and I'm right and do it this way, and I don't want to hear your opinion. And you got to wonder why I was in all these bands that when they started getting some momentum, people were quitting because I was like a crazy asshole. So I was leading or going with what I thought was right, but just thinking you're right and making sure that's like the end all be all and not letting other people have their say is not always going to be the diplomatic way, I guess.
Yeah. I've had Keepers on the Faith on display ever since the 10th anniversary. How'd you like doing that meetup at Gorilla Mall in California to celebrate arguably Terror's hottest record?
That was really cool. I mean, it's a shame that, you know, we have like eight albums out now, and we've never been a band to like do like a tour of playing just one of our old records or anything like that. We did once. Our first record's called Lowest of the Low, and our good friend what was this? I think if I could be totally wrong here, but our good friend's band, Internal Affairs, played their last show at the Chain Reaction in Anaheim. And I think he specifically asked us to play our first record in order. That's the only time we've ever done that. You know, we've never done these tours or anything like that, which a lot of bands do, which is cool. Which we've just always kind of been of the mindset that like we want to play everything, not just one thing. Yeah. But with Keepers of the Faith, we were considering doing that because it was such like I don't want to make it more than it was, but it really was this like really powerful movement within hardcore, and was kind of like an epic time for the band. So if we were ever going to do that, it would have been with this record. But due to obviously, you know, everything going on in the world, we couldn't. So the only thing we could come up with, and we're like, to do like a pop-up merch thing where we made some limited merch. We made some cassettes. We had a test press, stuff like that. And it was really fun. It was cool to see the people in Terror, because Jordan, our guitarist, lives in Toronto, the guy from No Warning. Chris, our bass player, lives in Maine. So we've kept pretty active doing recording some covers and some stuff like that with me, Nick, and Martine. We did that Garage podcast. And that was all me, Nick, and Martine, because the two other guys weren't around. So they came out for that. And then we also did the live stream around Keepers of the Faith. So it was really cool. It was a little bittersweet because there could have been a lot more around that record, but you know, there's really no point in complaining. We did what we could, and it came out really cool. And
the live stream was fantastic.
A lot of people showed up for the Gorilla Mall thing, which was like really cool. Like we didn't count people, but there was like, you know, a cool line of people. So that made me, I didn't really know what to think. We're setting up some merch at a hamburger fucking joint and see if people come, and it turned out pretty cool.
Oh, sorry, Kellen. Go ahead.
No, you go.
So I was just going to say, one of the most, I would say, impactful albums that I can remember as a kid was probably one with the Underdogs, just because really before I was introduced to that album by a friend of mine, I was only ever allowed to listen to conservative Christian music. And so that's a big leap.
I hear that a lot from people.
Oh, really? All right. So, I mean, when I was introduced to hardcore through that album, actually, I became obsessed with it, mainly because it seemed so incredibly positive to me. But my parents didn't understand that, obviously. They want all the music and lyrics to be about Jesus. So when I finally heard hardcore for the first time, it resonated with me on a really deep level. Did you have an idea of the people who were listening to your music at that time? Did you have like an idea of who your fans were and who that music would impact? Or was it just, I'm putting this out, this is how I feel, that's it?
I've got a question for you. So are you saying Terror and One with the Underdogs was the first hardcore you heard, or were you into like the Christian hardcore scene before that?
I was into the Christian hardcore scene before that.
Okay.
Like some Under Oath and like Norma Jean and stuff like that, which, you know, I'll still put on from time to time. But I wasn't. It took me. I still had to hide that stuff from my parents because they wouldn't even let me listen to that. So.
Right. Okay. So, I guess when Terror started playing, we were a straight up hardcore band. We were on Bridge 9 Records. We all had shaved heads. We all wore Madball shirts or Floor Punch shirts or whatever. And that kind of puts you in a hardcore has so many subdivisions now, but what I would call like the traditional hardcore thing. But early on in our career, we got lots of opportunities. Throwdown took us on tour. 18 Visions took us on tour. I think on that 18 Visions tour, I think Under Oath was on that tour. At the same time, Blood for Blood took us on tour. Death Threat took us on tour. Every Time I Die took us on tour. So we had this really big opportunity to be who we were and play. It never changed our music, but we got exposed to a lot. And I think there was a lot playing into it. I was from the East Coast. These guys were from the West Coast. I was a little bit older. They were a little bit younger. So we kind of had connections to all sorts of different people thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to answer your question, I don't think we ever really thought about it too much. We were always just going to be Terror, but it was really, really cool to have the opportunity to play to all sorts of people. A funny story that comes to my head when you say that, trying to think of how I can say this in the most non-offensive way to anyone. So I remember we were playing at the Auto Bar, and it was with Every Time I Die, and I think it was Throwdown and Terror. And there was a distinct look of people. If someone came to the show, you could see if they were there to see Terror, or you could see if they were there to maybe see Every Time I Die.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember sitting at the bar with Andy. Just, you know, he doesn't drink, but we were just sitting at the bar at the place called the Auto Bar in Baltimore. And this kid was like walking by us, and he had the typical like Every Time I Die look, like hair and like tighter clothes and maybe like all black clothes. And I made a comment to Andy Williams, like, oh God, this guy's probably your biggest fan or something like that. And he walked right up to me, didn't even like address Andy, and was like, you guys are my favorite band. I can't wait to see you guys tonight. And this was like a eye-opening moment for me to like that Terror was lucky enough. Yeah. And of course that made me feel like a dick because I was like prejudging him and like putting Terror into a box that only certain people listen to us. And this was a real eye-opening experience that we have this opportunity to play to all sorts of people. We should take advantage of it and make sure that everyone feels welcome at a Terror show, because the traditional hardcore scene and myself can be pretty close-minded, like I just showed. Yeah. And if we kept that way, we're just going to shoot ourselves in the foot. So that's kind of a story that came to mind when you asked me that.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Andy's a major wrestler now. You see him on AEW.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's insane. Okay, so my parents had the same issue with, you know, telling me to turn off music like Terror and bands like that because they just think it's angry Satan music. And I just want to put that out there that this is like positive music with anger behind it. You know, it's not negative really in any way. It's more like positive, you know. I mean, it's negative in like certain aspects, but not in like, you know, that aspect.
I feel like our first record, Lowest of the Low, is straight anger. Yeah, just straight pissed off. I mean, there's a couple like Push It Away
and Total Retaliation.
There's always a slight tinge of positivity, but like the first record was like 90% angry. And then when we went to One with the Underdogs, it was like maybe 50-50. And there's like the song One with the Underdogs. A lot of it's like, this world's hard. This world's going to try to eat you alive.
Mm-hmm.
But if you stay the course and stay yourself and surround yourself with good people, maybe you'll have a chance to get through it. A lot of stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that Terror stuff that people connect to is like One with the Underdogs, Always the Hard Way, Return to Strength, Keepers of the Faith, Stick Tight. So it's like these more positive things. Our latest record from like a year or two ago, which is called Total Retaliation, it's just, there was so much shitty stuff going on in the world. And like now it's even fucking way crazier. But at the time, there was so much shitty stuff going on in the world, it was hard to be positive. And we're now currently writing a brand new record. And I'm making a conscious choice to not let my brain go into fuck everyone, this world's a piece of shit, human beings are the worst things in the world, we're ruining everyone, we hate each other. I don't want to go down that, because we kind of did that last record. And I think that I have to direct the lyric. There'll be, you know, the 50-50 thing, but I want to keep it more positive, because I think that's what I need. And I think that's what people need to hear right now.
Yeah. Do you have trouble keeping your lyrics from getting repetitive? Do you find yourself getting writer's block ever?
Yes. It's very hard. And again, no warning. Their singer's name's Ben Cook, who starting with the 25th Hour, so the last two records, and hopefully on this record, has really helped me even write some of the lyrics. Like it's just like I've written just with Terror alone, so many songs, and then all the bands we talked about before, and then I do current things. So like I've changed and I've grown and I'm somewhat different, but I'm somewhat the same too. And my brain only thinks what it can think. So it does get hard to come up with even just fresh words. Like once you do a song like Keepers of the Faith, you really like, I mean, you can, but I really don't want to use the word faith in any of our songs again, because it's already been done.
Yeah.
And then even on top of that, there's everyone else in the world is writing songs. So if you think of something cool, someone's already probably like a cool play on words or things that rhyme, the two words you put together, and you're like, oh, I got a cool song title. And you're like, oh, fuck, that band already used it. So it's definitely hard, but just got to make it fucking happen.
It'll come. So you've toured endlessly and tirelessly for a very long time, sometimes as long as 9 months out of the year. How hard is that lifestyle to get used to?
It's fucking brutal, man. I mean, when I was a little bit younger, when Terror first started, like with Slugfest never toured, Despair toured a little bit. We went to Europe twice, and we probably, you know, we came out to the West Coast once with Hatebreed and did a couple of tours, and then Buried Alive toured a little bit more, but nothing like Terror. But when Terror started, it was just like I said, all these bands were asking us to go out. So it was just like, go, 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 go.
Yeah,
and we'd and we just do the craziest things. Like we're in LA. Hey, do you want to tour with this band? It starts in Philadelphia. Sure. You start the tour driving 48 hours, paying for all your own gas, you know, $1,000 to get there. And you know, a band like us at the time were getting paid hardly anything.
Yeah.
So it was just like, you really just had to be a fucking lunatic and really just want to do the band. Because if any sane person would slap you in the face and saying this, you're not going to get no sleep, you're going to eat shitty food, you're going to fuck your brain up, you're going to fuck your body up, you're going to lose money, you're going to live in a van, you're going to hate each other, you're going to get sick because everyone's going to cough on you, like all the things a sane person, you're going to live out of a suitcase, you're going to not shower half the time, you're going to be on an airplane flying to Europe all the time for 13 hours. It's like, it's so crazy. But I mean, all that aside, I haven't worked for anyone in 19 years.
Amazing.
I've gotten to travel the world. I've met so many people. We've made great music. We make lyrics that both of you have said like impacted you.
Absolutely.
So there is a huge reward, but it's fucking insane. I don't know. Even like I'm 47 now. So last year I was 46. I would be sitting in the Terror van. Like luckily in Europe we get a bus now because we're a little bit bigger of a band in Europe. But in the US we're still in a van. So I'm just like sitting staring at the back of someone's head for 8 hours a day, just like listening to music, trying to take a nap, stopping at a gas station and just eating some fucking almonds or Taco Bell or whatever the fuck they have. It's a hard lifestyle.
You go next actually.
You want me to go? Okay,
yeah,
cool. I was kind of curious if you had a guilty pleasure artist. Not that, I mean, you can take guilty pleasure kind of different ways, but is there someone that you listen to that you think most people would be like, what? Scott listens to that band or that artist?
I got two. You want the semi-acceptable one or the one that's really going to get me made fun of?
Broken Side.
I'm not going to make fun of you because I listen to embarrassing music too. So
we all do.
We'll go not so embarrassing to. So I really like Coldplay, which I think is an acceptable answer.
Oh, just like Toby.
I don't know if. Yes. Amazing lyrics, amazing music, amazing. Now this next band, I don't know why, I don't know how, and it's only I don't really know their songs. I just know a couple of the like really bad radio hits. But that band Stained.
Oh yeah.
Like their epic ballads. Yes, like I'm like I kind of like this. And like maybe like 15 years ago, me and Martine from Terror and a couple of people were driving to Las Vegas to see Every Time I Die and Trapped Under Ice. We're on tour together, and we just went to go to the show. And I think Martine set me up. He put like Stained on the radio, and then when I started like getting into it, he like filmed me and put me on Instagram stories or whatever. And I was no. Not a good look, man. Not a good look.
And that kind of plays back into the audience too, because I know you said you were talking about, there's a certain image maybe of the people that attend your shows and things like that. So, I mean, it seems strange to me though, because music is such an emotional thing, and it can be so, it can just be very different in how it hits you. Different sounds are going to hit you at different times. The way that you're feeling that day can change if you like a song or not. So, I mean, I don't necessarily know why people make such a big deal out of, Scott, for instance, he listens to Stained, and did you ever see that as a toxic aspect of your fan base that like, they for some reason wouldn't accept you for listening to a certain artist?
I think all subcultures, whether it's like hardcore, punk, emo, like what I would consider like the real underground emo scene, real hip hop. See, I'm even being elitist doing it right now by saying real, but I think they're all very judgmental and elitist and want to keep it pure and it's mine and you don't know enough about it. And I'm the exact same way. So I think it's detrimental, and I think it's immature, and I think it's closed-minded, but I'll do it right now.
It's
just how it is. Like I've just like, people like will say, oh, you should check out this new hardcore band. And in my head, I'm like, they're not a fucking hardcore band, but like, who the fuck am I to say that? Like, and I don't even know the people. I haven't even heard of them, but yeah, I just think like music is so important to people. Some people, like I'll still meet people and I'll be like, what are you listening to? And they'll be like, whatever's on the radio. And I'm like, oh my God, my whole life has been this. And which that's great. They're probably like have way more time to stress about other things and not be so judgmental because music. But for some people, it's so important and impactful that I think they just like are so, they guard it and they want it to stay what they thought it was. And that's not rational thinking, but it's how it is.
What are your thoughts on like Turnstile and Expire and all those newer bands? More like modern.
Expires definitely has expired. I don't
They're
think
gone
they've been a
now,
band
yeah.
for a while.
Yeah, they're gone now.
A lot of the stuff I see now, like I'll just name a bunch of Turnstile, Code Orange, Knock Loose, Jesus Piece, Year of the Knife. These are all bands that I consider people in these bands my friends.
Okay.
A lot of these bands will tell me, you know, that Terror has meant a lot to them and influenced them.
Yeah.
A lot of these bands we tour with, and a lot of these bands are at this point bigger than Terror, so they take us on tour, which I have no problem with that. I don't have an ego. Like if we're going to get to play to new kids, younger kids, different kids,
yeah, do it.
Bigger shows, different shows, I'm all for it. But these aren't bands that I so much connect with like I did when I was younger, where I'll put on Gorilla Biscuits, or, you know, I'm going to extreme, like Gorilla Biscuits all the way to like Sheer Terror, totally different bands musically. But there was something about those bands, and maybe it was more about me, that I was younger and I needed it. And I needed to find the lyrics. I needed to find who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So these bands, a lot of these bands, when I see them live, like Turnstile and stuff, they're electric, and they have it, and they have the energy, and the crowd has it. And I totally feel that, and I vibe with it. But these aren't bands that I go to and listen to, and I get that same feeling.
I see.
And I think that's more me than them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of these bands blow me away live. And I think a lot of these bands too, where I said earlier when you brought up Code Orange, I said, you know, I'm just straightforward. I want Hatebreed. I want Madball.
Yeah.
I think they are a little bit different. They want to push the boundaries, and that's totally cool. Like that's not me, but I'm all for it. Like, do your thing and open the floodgates up and see where you can go with it. I think when I was younger, you know, when I first got into hardcore, there was all that stuff like Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today, Agnostic Front, Sick of It All. And they were all kind of in a box. And then like in the early 90s, things came along like Quicksand, Burn, Super Touch, that kind of opened everything up and let you kind of be more experimental. And I think those bands are doing it now. And I think that's really cool.
And I've also seen you on 2 tours, both at Town Ballroom in Buffalo, that were no hardcore bands besides yours. And one was The Story So Far back in 2015. And then in 2013, you did the All Stars tour with like Chelsea Grin and bands like that.
Oh, shit.
So
okay.
How weird was that? Like, was that way out of your element playing to those shows? Or were you still happy to play to new fans, like regardless?
Let's take them both differently because they're both different tours to me.
Okay. So
the All Stars tour, we were doing a lot of stuff like that at the time. We toured with Amir at the time. We toured with like a tour called Sounds of the Underground, which was like Guar and Lamb of God and Behemoth and like, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways I could answer this because it's great to get in front of a different audience and, you know, playing to a room full of people that know Terror and love Terror. It's great because, you know, they all sing along and they go off. But there's also, if you keep doing that over and over again, you're just going to burn yourself out. You're going to burn them out. You're going to burn yourself out. So we've always taken the approach to do like wild tours like that, what you're saying, totally outside the box. And we'd see the return of people coming to our shows looking like a more of a traditional hardcore kid and saying, I saw you on the All Stars tour. You wouldn't have believed what I looked like then. I was totally different. And you guys totally changed got me into a totally different world. So that's a really cool thing. And I'm not saying we're out there trying to like brainwash people, come with us, we're more important, but sometimes people have just never seen a straight up hardcore band. And when they do, they're like, this is what I was waiting for. On the other hand, there's some people that are really into Chelsea Grin, and when they see a straight up hardcore band, they're like, who the fuck are these jocks that think they're tough? I don't want to have anything to do with it. So we were very open to doing those tours, and we still definitely do. But there was a point, I want to say maybe around 5 years ago, where we kind of talked as a band and said, we're more happy touring a little bit less, and also just touring with bands. I don't want to say that we don't like, but touring with bands that we're more friends with. And we just decided to keep it more like closer to our circle of like what we're about. And it's worked good for us. And, you know, like we went out with Stick to Your Guns and Counterparts like a year ago, or like, I don't know, sometime last year. Okay. So we're still like in that world. And if there are certain bands, if they asked us and the time was right, we would, you know, consider doing it. But we also have kind of like stopped asking to be on tours like that and turning down tours like that, and just kind of kept it more in our world. And it's just, you know, we did that for a while and I liked it, but at this point we kind of just want to stay in our little bubble. I don't know if that's the right term, but
no, that's cool. So did you have any fun Warped Tour memories? I know having to play with like a barricade must have been a buzzkill, but was that a fun tour for you personally?
I would never do that again. If it was happening, I'm glad we did it, and I wouldn't take it back. And we did it in a way that was really good for us. Like we shared a bus with Every Time I Die, who are some great people. We had it like in a really good way. We had a sound man and a tour manager and all these things that we usually don't have. And a lot of this is thanks to Every Time I Die. They were really open to working with us, to making it work, where we got like because they were getting paid more than us and stuff like that. So they were really helpful to us. But it's so fucking long, man. It was like 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's a grind. I'm not like a beach guy. I'm not like a heat guy. Yeah. I'm not like a be in the sun guy. And it was like every day you wake up 9 o'clock and you're in some field in the middle of summer and you're there till 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. And it was just really a hard grind. So I'm glad we did it. You know that game Cornhole?
Yeah. I love Cornhole.
So that introduced to me again by Andy Williams. That's all I did for 7 weeks. I did the Terror set and I played that game all day and all night. And that's really what kept me sane. But it's just too long and it's just too, I'm not really social enough either. I like my space and I like to be like closed away, and you can't hide there. You're like, even like we had a bus, but there's so many people on the bus. Like you go to hide in your bus from the fucking 100 other bands, and there's just bound to be like 20 people on the bus. And you're just like, dude, get me away from it.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
So as an artist, I'm curious because Kellen, I'm going to ask one more question and then you can take it from there because I don't want to take up the rest of the time. But is there, as a musician, is there a venue and a song that you would prefer to play live? Like, you know, is there a size of the audience that you prefer? Is there a song that you think works best with that size of audience? What do you got?
Okay, so a specific actual venue, or are you asking if I like a huge venue versus a small venue?
It can be either. It can be either, whatever you've got.
I would say terror songs that really pop off the most is Stick Tight's number one. One with the Underdog, one with the Underdogs is always really good. Overcome's good. You like that?
I love it.
I'll kick that off the set list if I can. That's one Jordan always wants on the set list. The first song off the new record, This World Never Wanted Me, does really good. So there are some really strong ones, but Stick Tight is always like the biggest one usually. It's weird too, like in Europe, the song Always the Hard Way and Return to Strength do really good over there. When we play them over in the US, it's weird. It's like in that, now I'm starting to think there's certain songs in Australia that do really good. So it's like we have so much, but we have so many records out, it's impossible to give like one person everything they want to hear. Now, for the size of the venue, I'm always going to be even at this age, I still want the dirty, small, in-your-face, packed,
Yes.
150 cap, tiny little venue. But I am not scared, or I do not accept the challenge to go up on a festival with 20,000 people, barricade, security. And if I look out and I can see in those people's eyes, they're excited to see us, I know that Terror can create, it's not the exact same energy, but we can come pretty close to creating the positive chaos in that same club. And I think that's one of the things I really respect about Terror and keeps us going, because we get these like we get these opportunities to play these huge festivals. Like I was thinking before when you asked me about doing those other types of tours, about a year or two ago, A Day to Remember does those festivals called
Self-help.
Yes, and we played it in the LA area like a year or two ago, and that in my head I was kind of like, we haven't done anything like this in a while. How are we going to go over to this crowd, because we're not really in this world anymore? And it was like what I was just describing: huge crowd, huge stage, huge barricade, bouncers everywhere, and it was fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. And I doubted, I didn't doubt us, but I doubted the reaction. So there is something to be said, and I really respect that Terror will do one of these self-help things, and we'll see that we can do that, and oh wow, we can rock a big stage. But the next day, put us in someone's fucking basement, and we'll do that. We no questions asked. We'll set our shit up, and we'll play the same exact way we did down there. So it's kind of a balance, and I think it's cool that, like, you know, I'm sure there's some bands that the people in the band would be like, one way or another, like, we're too DIY to do this big thing, or we're too fucking great of a band to do this little thing. And to each their own, but I think it's kind of cool that we can do either and just be comfortable with ourselves.
That's awesome.
How would you compare the East Coast and West Coast scenes? Do you prefer one to the other? I personally love the vibe at shows in Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Erie. And I feel like less people are on their phones on those shows.
I'm definitely not going to dog out the West Coast, because Terror has had a great time all the way from, let's say, Tijuana up to Vancouver. Okay. So, I think with the internet and how much people can communicate, I don't think there's too much of a difference anymore. People dress the same, people dance the same, people like a lot of the same stuff. Yeah. And I just don't think there's really that big of it. I mean, sure, when you go from New York City to a show in Omaha, Nebraska, there is a bit of a difference, but there's still a lot of similarities. Like, you know, I think it's, and even getting out of the US, worldwide, you know, like, I think it's so easy now to like put on YouTube and see, what people do now and what people are into. I think it's pretty, I don't have a big distinction.
And there's this misconceived notion that everyone in punk and hardcore is straight edge and everyone's vegan, but I know you're not personally. What do you think about the people that complain about musicians that don't follow suit to what they think the scene is about?
Well, I would hope that all of this is about being yourself, whether that means cutting your hair, growing your hair, anything you want to do, as long as it's not hurting other people or offensive to, I mean, you can be offensive, but if you're not crossing some ugly lines, I think it's all about being yourself. So if someone wants to drink a bottle of fucking Jack Daniels every day for the rest of their lives, as long as they're not getting in a car and smashing it into an innocent person, that's their fucking choice. And if someone wants to be the straightest, cleanest motherfucker in the world, that's their choice too. So I would hope that this is about making your own personal choices.
Good answer. What's some of your most major hits you've taken at shows, on stage during Terror or in the pit?
Like injuries, right?
Like just getting fucked up, like at a show. Yeah.
I broke my ribs once, stage diving to the band First Blood, playing a Marauder cover, I think, if I got that story correct. I broke my wrist once moshing to No Turning Back in Ventura. They're a band from the Netherlands. I broke my ribs in New Zealand once. Like I was on stage singing.
Yeah.
And on the stage, there was these little, like a wood shelf where people would put their drinks. Yeah. So it was like kind of this level, and the crowd like kind of rushed me to sing along and smashed my ribs into this wooden thing, and it broke my ribs. That sucked because I had a tour with broken ribs. That wasn't fun. What else? Oh, well, we had an incident at the I got my head. I don't want to go into it because it's and it involves the police and stuff. But I got my head split open once on the first day of a West Coast tour, and I had to get like 4 or 5 staples in my head. I still feel a weird scar from that. So touring with staples in my head, and this was like early Terror where I was like
still
an animal
nuts.
And like and like people would just like grab my head, and I'm like, motherfucker, like what else? I don't know. It's also stupid.
Did you like LA when you first moved there, or did it take time to adjust to the lifestyle there?
Are we talking the city or the hardcore scene?
Just move into the city.
Yeah, I think I was really young and like excited to not be in Buffalo because I lived in Buffalo for like 29 years. So
yeah.
It's so beautiful and there's so many cool things about LA, but I do remember learning just how real like LA traffic was, like trying to get 10 miles and it would take like an hour to coming from Buffalo was just like mind blowing. Like, how is this happening? And then you just learn to deal with it. Like you learn to like only drive certain places at certain times, or know you're going to be in traffic, or know if you go to Whole Foods, there's going to be a fucking lot of people there, or know if you go to a fucking LA Kings game, there's going to be 1 million people there, and you just start to deal with that. And then recently, over the last like 10 years, it's like 5 years, it started to really eat away at me, where I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And now that I moved back to Buffalo, it's kind of crazy because I'm always like, go. Like I'm still in the LA, like, why are these people driving so slow? Why is this person not like getting out of my way? And I'm just like, dude, you're a fucking LA psycho. You need to like, you got out of LA to not deal with this. And now these people are a little more casual and laid back, and you want them to go faster. You're bringing your garbage to them. So I'm always like driving, like, why is this person going so slow? Why? I'm just like, dude, fucking relax.
I feel the exact same way. Every time I'm in Buffalo and there's traffic, I lose my mind. But when I'm here, I'm just used to it.
Yeah.
I heard that you once drove a taxi cab. What was that like?
That was when I first lived on my own. I lived in Kenmore, not far from where I am now.
Oh, perfect.
With a kid I went to high school with and his older brother. And I did like, I've washed dishes at a country club before that, made pizza. Oh, the most boring job I ever had was I worked at like a toy store, like a Toys R Us, I think it was called. And my job was literally to walk, like when someone would pick up a toy and look at it and put it back, I would walk around and like straighten toys. Dude, it was like so boring. Like I would look at my watch and it would be like an hour had gone by and I would be like, dude, I have 7 more hours of this. But yeah, I don't remember too much about it, but I don't know how it happened, but I just got a job driving a cab, and it was kind of normal sometimes, kind of crazy sometimes. It depended on what hour of the day and what neighborhood I was in. And
did you ever have to kick anybody out?
I had someone puke in my cab before. I actually backing out of someone's driveway, hit a car and took off and got like, I had to go to court over it. And like that was me being a dick. I hit someone's car and got all shook and just drove away. But someone must have got my play or whatever they called this cab. They figured out who I was, and I had to go to court. Damn. And the person whose car I hit was suing me as well as the cab company. Oh, and the cab company didn't show up, and the car had no insurance. So they were like, you're good since you showed up. You're out. We're gonna go after the cab company. So it would be like weird. You knew people were like getting drugs. They'd be like, okay, here's a $50 bill. Just sit here. Do not leave. No matter what happens, do not leave. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna leave, but what the fuck are you getting me into here? So
yeah, right.
It's like weird shit like that.
I used to work at Lexus on Sheridan Drive. I actually did the same thing. I was in a loaner vehicle and I backed into somebody else's car. I didn't say a damn word about it because there was no damage, but I mean it shook the whole thing. It was pretty crazy. So I got that one. Weirdest fan encounters. Got any crazy stories? Ever been stalked? Anything weird?
You've meet some weird people on Instagram, direct message, whatever it's called. I don't want to put people out there too much.
Well, just a lot of requests for nudes on Instagram.
God, I hope not. But just like people like, I love your band. Can you like call my friend and tell him hi? And I'm like, oh, no. Dude, it's just so like weird. Like I don't want to say no to people, but it's like, do you know how uncomfortable it is? Like, hey, I'm Scott. What's going on? Just some random. You don't even know if the person getting the phone call wants this phone. It's just weird stuff like that, or like making another one. And I really hate to like shit on people, but we get asked a lot. Like, this is gonna sound. I'm sorry to anyone that this offends, but we'll get a lot of people will be like, hey, in the middle of your set, can I like ask my girlfriend to marry me? And I'm in my head, I'm like, dude, don't do that to your girlfriend. Take her somewhere nice, not in the middle of the fucking terror mosh pit. So like, I mean, it's their choice to what they're gonna do, but I really don't want to facilitate that. And just some stuff like that, I guess.
Okay, I got a little speed round here to finish this up. Favorite record store?
What's a record store?
I don't know. It's just some shitty place where people go.
Home of the Hits, Buffalo, New York. Now I drove by it. It doesn't exist, but that's where I got all my shit from back in the day.
Did you ever go to Record Theater?
The one on Main Street?
Yeah.
You know, the one at Main and like Kenmore Avenue? That's where I used to park. That was like the parking spot for all the cabs. When you didn't have a cab, you'd go there and there'd just be a bunch of cab dudes sitting there waiting for the call.
Oh, that's awesome.
But not really. Home of the Hits.
Okay. Favorite food?
Like chocolate and peanut butter combined. So we'll say a Reese's peanut butter cup, but variations.
Hell yeah. Favorite Buffalo food?
Dude, it's scary here, man. I got to watch myself so I don't gain like 30 pounds. Like a chicken finger sub, a pizza, just there's too much good food here.
Okay. Favorite
I'll say a chicken finger sub.
Okay.
Favorite wing spot?
Duff's or Anchor Bar, I was going to say.
I have to get back to you. I had Anchor Bar since I've been here, but not Duff's. So I'm going with Anchor Bar. They were really good, but we'll see.
Personally, I think Duff's kills Anchor Bar. Grape jelly or strawberry jelly?
I mean, I'll have to say strawberry because my girlfriend bought strawberry jelly today, but I won't have any of it. I don't care. I'll just take the peanut butter without the jelly.
Hell yeah. Favorite terror record?
I don't know. One with the Underdogs.
Okay. Favorite terror song? I know it's hard.
Less than zero. Less than zero.
Favorite movie?
Shawshank
Favorite
Redemption.
Favorite H2O record.
The first one.
Yeah.
The lyrics on I think it's self-titled. The lyrics are so good.
Amazing. And last one, favorite hot water music song. I know you're a big fan.
Dun, dun, dun. I think it's called Threesome. Hold on. I can't look on my phone. It's I think it's called Three Summers. It's the song that got me into the band, because before that song, it's on Forever and Counting. It's like track 8 or 9. I think it's called Three Summers. Okay. It's like really fast, and it's like dun dun dun. We were lost. We had a lot. I think it's called Three Summers. But when I first heard hot water music, like some of the members of Buried Alive would play them a lot, and I thought, this is the worst band I ever heard. Mm-hmm. And then that song, I heard that song and it like got me, and now they're like my favorite band.
And I just want to say how absolutely incredible it was that you managed to put out so many releases in 2020 during the pandemic. I still need to get the Terror releases myself, but I got the Buried Alive, Death Will Find You 7-inch and the World Be Free EP. Both very good.
Cool.
I want people to go buy them.
To my uncredit, some of that stuff was recorded before and it just takes a while to come out.
Okay.
But Terror, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I finished the vocals to those in the pandemic or I think before, but Terror did a lot. We put out a cassette with 2 covers, a Zero Tolerance and a Conviction cover. We put out a 7-inch on War Records of like some kind of lost songs that we redid some stuff to. I redid vocals to. And we have some stuff that you don't know about that I know about that's coming soon. So
yes,
we're waiting for it.
We've been pretty busy.
And I'd love to hear you guys play some songs off the Rhythm of the Chaos EP. Hardly anybody mentions that one. It's such a banger.
Thank you. I like that for songs called Disconnected or Disconnect or something.
Yeah.
So it's good. That's the thing. We just have so much shit, man. And then we're writing new songs. So eventually we'll have another record. And it's just like,
So we're
and
thinking,
no one needs to hear us play for like 2 hours. That'll make people crazy.
Are we thinking like end of the year for the new album? Or not really sure yet?
If I had to give you my best guess, I would say September.
Awesome.
But that could definitely fluctuate.
And is there anything else
it's not recorded, so until it's recorded, then maybe 4 months after that.
Is there anything else you'd like to plug?
Nope.
And where can your fans find you? Do you have like an Instagram handle?
On Parkside Avenue in Buffalo, New York. I am finally at whatever at I am finally. I don't know. I am finally on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook or
perfect
TikTok or MySpace or any of those other things.
Awesome. Scott Vogel, thank you so much for being here. We are huge fans of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. Have a wonderful evening.
Yes, take care. Enjoy Buffalo. Go Bills.
Amen to that.
We're gonna
Goodbye,
win this.
guys.
See ya.
I hope so. Bye.